Boone is the director of the NIH Division of Loan Repayment. We were just hearing from Dr. Carranza. And in this role, she's responsible for administering and providing leadership for the program. It enables research to pay for loans they took out to fund their grad school, and commitment to supporting NIH research, which in this case would be NIA. And also is represented, and she also represents NIH on matters of related to operations, policy development, and evaluation of the LRP program. And her scholarly work has examined genetic and epigenetic factors that influence social behavior across the lifespan. And for her academic background, she has a BA in biology from Talladega College and a PhD in biobehavioral from Pennsylvania State University. I want to say I met her when she gave I learned about her when she gave a very interesting talk to another program, RICMAR, and that's what made me want to invite her to give a talk here. So now I'll go back to.
Now I can jump in.
Yes.
Thank you guys for having me. And before we continue on, I want to make sure that I do go ahead and plug the loan repayment program again. If you have not heard of the loan repayment program, www.lrp.nih.gov. We can repay student loans from your undergrad all the way up until your first application. So these are educational loans. It can be worth $50,000 per year in eligible student loan repayment. If you learn about it and apply. The deadline for this year is November I think it's the 18th, or 19th. Check on our website, right? And make sure that you call the information center and you read the website and then call the information center so that you can learn more about this program that can help you stay on track to pursuing your academic research streams. Now let's get into impediments to those academic research streams and imposter syndrome. I can't see the chat, but I'm a person who likes to have interaction with the audience. So if you've ever heard of imposter syndrome or imposter fears, imposter thoughts, put a yes into the chat for me.
So
and don't make it seem like it's just me.
Kathy will let you know what we're getting.
Okay, I can see some people coming up that said yes, yes, yes. Okay, great. So we're in the right room here. So next slide for me. All right, so we're gonna go, I usually have a whole 70-minute workshop on this, but we are down to 30 minutes, actually 20 minutes for today. So I'm gonna give you the crib notes on this one, okay? So really what we wanna do is that I try to be as transparent as possible and engage us in having active conversations and use personal reflection so people can kind of see what my story is and how they may or may not necessarily be able to relate to it. Typically, we don't share these thoughts with people, so we sometimes feel trapped by them. But I think that some ways of us freeing ourselves from that is kind of like one, addressing these issues head on ourselves, confronting them ourselves, but then sometimes also sharing them with others. Next slide. So what does imposter fears or thoughts feel like? Next slide. Oh gosh, I forgot to remove the animation. So go ahead and click through some of those for me. So go ahead and keep clicking. Click one more time.
Okay. Oh, one more time.
Okay, great. It's okay. They can read them. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So really, imposter thoughts or imposter fears are really defined as a pattern of thought where a person will discount their own accomplishments and kind of like chalk them up to luck or other people's help for them. They kind of like feel like even though all these good things are happening around me, I'm kind of not measuring up. And at some point, somebody's going to find out, I don't know what the hell I'm doing and run me out of town, right? So there's that kind of like fraud thing that's in there, even though you're doing all of these things that maybe I'm not quite as good as what people think that I am. So we typically will walk around with this outer mask of perfection, but inside we're feeling like, oh, we've got these doubts that we walk around with. And we also have these inner feelings of anxiety or doubt or negative self-talk. I think that sometimes we can have these raging discussions internally about stuff we should have said, stuff we should have done. I was on a congressional briefing yesterday. Mine just went blank. Did I have a little bout with imposter syndrome last night as I tried to sleep? I absolutely did, right? I am the person that you talked to about the loan repayment program. They asked me a question. I answered all of the other ones beautifully. And then another question came along. Brain went completely blank, right? And what are you thinking? These people, and I think I'm a blooming idiot. That's not necessarily what they're thinking. And if they do, I can't help that. But I do know what I know. right? So we kind of have to reel those negative thoughts back in, because even if we do mess up at some point in time, it's not some totality of who we are, right? We always, we tend to chalk up our accomplishments to luck or from help from somebody else. So how do we combat that? We try to have this outer mask of perfectionism, and we over prepare for everything because there's no room for error or doubt or anything else in our own minds, right? And these imposter fears and thoughts are experienced by highly successful, intelligent people like all of us. We're not slackers here. And they're also sparked by new opportunities, especially where there's a huge learning curve or there's a steep learning curve. Instead of us really relying on, hey, I have established a foundation for myself and I've built myself up to this point, and whatever I have to learn from here on out, I've got that foundation to show me I have what it takes. We typically don't do that. We look at that delta as like the sea of a lack of preparedness for ourselves, right? No one ever admits it, so we feel like we're by ourselves. And the more bouts we have with it, it can really impact our personal and professional development because we stop volunteering for things, we stop showing up for things, but it doesn't have to do so. Next slide, Leon.
There we go. Oh, oh.
Keep going, keep going. Yeah, so this is, wait, go back.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. This is our face half the time when we're thinking about what did they find out? I don't know what I'm doing, right? Keep going. Next slide. So who experiences imposter feelings and thoughts? Well, some of our colleagues on the call today have admitted to experiencing these imposter thoughts. Click for it for me.
There we go.
70% of the population, 2 out of 3 people, so you're not by yourselves. Women will admit to experiencing imposter thoughts more readily than men, but it doesn't mean that they don't experience it themselves. It's often experienced by people who are high achievers or they are experts in their field, right? That's us. That's a scary term, right? But also there's that inner battle of perfectionism versus natural genius, because people always attribute other people to being natural geniuses, but we just have to try so hard, you know? So therein is that delta again, is that we perceive other people as being more prepared as what we are for some reason. Next slide. Then there are those reinforcers of those imposter feelings, those things that kind of confirm for us in our own mind, hey, you might be right, that you might not be as prepared as what you think you are. Click through. They're typically rooted in a perceived difference between ourselves and something within our environment, and those reinforcers tend to make us feel like an outsider. Click through. Our educational experiences can help us to feel like imposters. So like women are underrepresented in STEM. Girls will gain an interest in STEM by 11 and leave that by 15. Click. There's also underrepresentation based on racial ethnic background. And these roadblocks, we've heard about them for years and years and years. Lack of resources, relatability, role models, experience of unconscious bias and microaggression can really do a number on you. Click. Again, early life experiences or educational experiences. This is what every class I ever took, every class I ever taught felt like, right? When we watched TV as little kids, this is what the teachers look like. This is what dentists look like. This is what lawyers look like. This is what scientists look like. If you ask kids right now, what in 2021, what do scientists look like? They probably won't look like half of us on the call. Click. Then there was 7th grade algebra. Mr. Denny was a thorn in my side. He had me thinking that I was not good at math from the age of 11 in 7th grade up until probably the time that, I don't know, probably even now, right? Now, I do understand that I'm not good at geometry. I'm not good at algebra. I am not. But I'm really good at calculus, differential equations, and other things like that. But if I had let Mr. Denny, you know, kind of get in my mind and convince me that I was no good at all of math and I didn't keep trying, I probably never would have understood that. Mr. Denny went so far as to tell kids that people don't know how ignorant you are until you open your mouth. We're 11 years old and we're being told that something is wrong with us because we don't know something, right? And then even worse than that, if you don't know, Someone will embarrass you publicly about that. They will shame you and make you feel as if you have done something wrong, when in truly, I'm 11 years old and I don't know this, and you went to school for this, so you should be able to teach it to me, right? But we don't have that kind of self-empowerment to understand that at 11 years old, but we carry that with us. Why am I talking about this? Because a lot of times those imposter thoughts or those imposter fears are rooted in something that happened earlier within us, and it takes us back to those earlier feelings, right? So keep going for me. Click one more time. I asked one of my colleagues as well, because when I started to think about developing this workshop on imposter fears, I started asking different people if they had ever experienced it before, and when did they first notice that they had done so, or that they were feeling that way. And one of my white male colleagues said to me, "Oh yeah, I have incredible bouts with imposter fears all the time." He grew up in a household where intellectual capability was not as highly valued as physical brawn. And I think that a lot of us have probably heard people describe others around them, or maybe even us, as having a lot of book sense or intelligence, when it came to books, but not a lot of intelligence when it came to, other common things. And that, when you're told those kinds of things early on in life, that can kind of do a number on you, right? But also our work environments also reinforce feelings of imposter thoughts. If we're working in uncivil working environments, if we're experiencing microaggressions or sexism, people question our contributions or our leadership. And when those abuses are unchecked by those in leadership, those can contribute to the exacerbation and pervasiveness of feelings of imposter fears and thoughts within an environment. Click one more time. So it can really kind of translate into feeling unseen and unheard and undervalued in your environment. And, I like this quote by former President Barack Obama: "You can't be what you don't see," right? So that's one of the reasons for why when my kid was young, he's now 24, I volunteered for just about everything that I could, because I wanted for kids to see that they do know a Black female scientist. And I used to organize events where I brought in others that I knew of that were from different racial ethnic backgrounds and from different research areas, so that kids could get exposure to these areas early on in life, and they could see different kinds of people conducting this kind of work. Move forward. But we can be our own best reinforcers of imposter phenomenon. Click. We're going to play a little game of your worst best friend. So put into the chat feature if you have ever done any of these things. Type in a yes for me. Discounted your accomplishments, or chalked your successes up to luck, timing, or help from others. Oh my God, if so-and-so hadn't helped me, I didn't know what I would have done. Have you agonized over even the smallest flaw in your work? Do mistakes keep you up at night? Told y'all about my night last night. Do you ever hold back from speaking up in meetings, or you qualify your statements with, "This might not be right," or "This might not be what everybody else is thinking," but nobody's listening after that because you've already discounted yourself, right? We want to walk into this room like the 300. We can do this, right? So has anybody ever thought that they didn't have any room to make a mistake? That if I don't do this right, I'm never going to get another shot again? Yeah, a lot of us have done that. Next slide for me.
Here we go. A few more things.
You're not alone. There are other people who think the same thing, right? But anybody can experience moments of professional and personal self-doubt for any number of reasons. We often tend to look around and look at other people as possibility models or Teflon Dons, right? Nothing can ever go wrong in their life. But the thing is that we don't know what other people are encountering. We don't know other people's challenges. We just know our own. It's because we don't share some of these things. So we don't know that, oh, that person dealt with that too, and this is how they deal with those, and they can be support for that, right? Or understanding other people's stories can be support for us ourselves. Next slide. Imposter thoughts don't equal low self-esteem. A lot of people think that, oh, if you have professional or personal self-doubt, it means that you have low self-esteem. It doesn't. It just means that you've got these doubts that we need to deal with. We're no less smart, we're no less competent, but for some reason that negative feedback loop is really strong. But we need to figure out how to counter that. I asked some friends of mine, no, it's fine that you move forward. I asked some friends of mine who are professionals that I respect very much, when did you first encounter these feelings of imposterism? And a lot of it was rooted in them doing things that were outside of their areas of expertise. And they felt like if I say anything wrong or I do anything that's not exactly right, somebody's going to call me out on it and I'm going to be embarrassed, right? And these aren't people, I didn't ask people who were just, somebody off the street. I asked people who were very successful in their careers if they'd ever experienced it and when. Keep going. Next slide for me. Another one of my friends was saying that they were the only one in their environment way too often. They were the youngest in their department. They were the youngest to do this. They were the only female. They were the only Black female. And they internalized that as being something, that difference as being something negative. So instead of them thinking that they're bringing something new into the environment, they're thinking everybody else knows more about me, so I'm going to sit back and be quiet. Next slide for me. But the problem with having these imposter thoughts is that it really limits our ability to be bold professionally and personally. And I don't know who said this quote, but Steve Harvey said it a long time ago. If we didn't have fear, and if we weren't working from a perspective of fear, who would we be if we didn't hold our own selves back, right? So these imposter feelings kind of lead us to procrastinate, because who wants to do something that they don't feel like they're good at, right? Missed opportunities. We don't raise our hands and take chances on ourselves. It reduces our ability to feel proud of ourselves. We use a lot of time, or we waste a lot of time and emotional energy in our own inner vortex, right? And it leads to us not showing up fully in our environments. And the bottom line of this is we're getting in our own way. Next slide. We need to feed ourselves something nutritious. Just like we put nutritious food into our bodies, really our thoughts are the seeds of our future. So we need to think about it in that way. Every action starts with a thought. Next slide. Because we spend way too much time engaged in negative self-talk. Click through for me. We all know what negative self-talk is. As my son says, you talk to yourself crazy. Like, that's exactly what that is, right? But it can limit our learning and our growth opportunities because we're keeping our hand down. But our job is, like Oprah says, to figure out how to fill your cup up, but then also keep it full. So how do we do that? By identifying and refocusing that negative, really thinking about ourselves and countering that narrative, not thinking, I'm not sure if I can do this, but thinking, you know what, everybody starts at something and they're new at something, and maybe I don't know certain things right now, but I know that I have the foundation so that I can learn it and I can be good at it. So thinking about it from a perspective of lack versus empowerment is completely different. Next slide. Because it's not who we are that holds us back. It's kind of who we think that we're not that does. Next slide. So now let's talk a little bit about confronting these imposter feelings. And I'm so sorry that we're running out of time, because this is really the good stuff right here. This is the gold. Next slide. We got to figure out how to free ourselves, stop trapping ourselves in our own thoughts. And I realized that when I had the opportunity to take advantage of an executive coach, she, we had met for a couple of sessions. I was new at a job, and she was like, this is something that I've recognized with you. Let's sit down and have a talk. When you're feeling anxious, you are really in a self-protective mode, like you're expecting blows. You're expecting for something to go wrong or something to blow up. You're sitting there, your arms are crossed, that's a protective stance, and you grit your teeth. And I didn't even know that I was sitting in this meeting with this woman all wound up like a spinning top. So what was the thing that I needed to do? Recognize when I'm overwhelmed, right? Do a body check and figure out, okay, what do I need to do? What's going on with me in this moment? Stop, unclench my teeth, take a breath. And this is the thing that I'm trying to do even now. I'm practicing this, separating my true feelings from what my concerns are. Because a lot of times we let those things, those thoughts about what we think other people think about us or what we said or what we did, to kind of get out of control. But we can control those things anyway, right? So it's like, let's just kind of sit down and separate what really is happening right now from what I really think or feel is going on, to help me get a sense of control over how I'm feeling right now. And also, silence is not golden. We don't have to do everything by ourselves. We think we do. We're trained to do that. We're supposed to be experts in this area, and we're supposed to know everything, right? But nobody got anywhere on their own. We utilize our networks in order to help us to fill in the gaps. And sometimes certain things shouldn't even be ours. we can't do and be everywhere and do everything all at one time. Learning how to utilize our networks is one of the most important, one of the most emotionally intellectual things that we can do for ourselves. And it's also okay to ask questions. I always felt like I couldn't ask questions because me asking questions meant that I didn't know something. Yeah, you didn't know it. How would you know some of these things, right? So, but it's okay to ask questions. That's actually a mark of intelligence to do so. And be your own best friend. Play a different mental tape and visualize your success versus your imminent failure. I always use the example of Shaquille O'Neal here. He's like 10,000 feet tall. He cannot shoot a free throw to save his freaking life. But is he worried about that free throw? No, he was worried about all of those championship rings with the Lakers and with the Heat. And he's worried about his Papa John's that he has, his franchise that he has right now, because he's got a bazillion of those too. He did not let that 1-point free throw hold him back. And don't let it hold you back either. Also, we got to figure out how to brush our shoulders off and reframe when we do make mistakes, or when we don't perform how we think that we might, because half the time people didn't even notice that. We're coming down on ourselves so harshly, and other people might not even notice it. Case in point, I mentioned my little faux pas at yesterday's meeting to one of my colleagues who was on the phone. And what did they say to me? Oh, I didn't even notice that. And if you feel like you wanted to add more to that conversation or to that answer, just reply in an email. Doink. Next slide. Cut out that Instagram, Snapchat mentality. My nieces take pictures all day long, right? And then, you know, they have this, I don't even know what golden hour is. I guess it's where the sun is. You look like, you know, your day is perfect. They've taken 100 photos all day long. They post up one, and this is the totality of their life. It is not. Your life is the totality of all of those other photographs where your smile was crooked, your hair was wrong, and everything else. But that's the beautiful thing about your life, right? So, and another thing is to stop comparing ourselves to other people in those possibility models, because comparison is the thief of joy. It takes away our ability to be able to feel proud of the accomplishments that we do have, because we're constantly comparing ourselves to somebody else who's probably 10, 15 years down the road. So yeah, they should be doing some different things than you. It can give you inspiration, but it should not be a source of comparison. Comparisons don't do any good ever, because we're usually comparing ourselves to someone who we think is so much better, or someone who's doing so much worse. Forget about what other people are doing. Do what you do. Also, do something good for yourself and for someone else. I remember the first time that someone asked me to mentor them, and I was like, for what? Why would you possibly want me to mentor you? I'm just holding this thing together with popsicle sticks and glue. But you're somebody else's possibility model too. They're trying to figure out how you got to where you are, and here you are wasting all of your time and energy being, you know, negative about yourself because you think that you should be doing more. Engage in self-care. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's getting your nails done. I don't care if it's meditating, if it's yoga, going for a walk, vegging out on movies. I don't care what it is. You have to figure out how to be good to yourself and recharge yourself, because you fuel your dreams. You fuel your future. How do you support yourself? How do you prepare yourself to carry out all of these big dreams and these big goals and these big ideas that you have? It all starts with you. So you got to put on your own oxygen mask first. Yeah, I know, boo for the analogy, but it's all true, right? Put into the chat feature what you guys do to engage in self-care. I have a dog here who's like 14 years old. He does like to walk. He likes to be rubbed. I'm really terrible at meditating now. I'm really bad. I usually just jump out of the bed and look at my phone and see what's blown up overnight, and then go and work immediately. But that's not the right way to live. Gym and painting. Oh yeah, if you guys can see behind me, this is all leather behind me. So I make earrings in my spare time. I don't have a lot of that right now, but it brings me a sense of peace and joy. And we have to find those moments and do those. Oh, look, there's tennis. Someone said knitting. I appreciate you guys participating. Running. Oh yeah, my knees will not let me run anymore. I really like long car rides. I hate driving. Skincare. Yeah, I need to do that one. Dance and sing. Oh, I do that all the time. I'm so out of tune, but I love to sing. And a happy heart, a singing heart is a happy heart. That's what my mom told me. And so those were some things that I truly believe that. And I remember when my son was 2, and he'd say, why are you singing all the time? No, he was 3. And I'd say, well, a singing heart is a happy heart. And he looked at me and he turned his head to the side and he walked off. But then after that, I would hear him singing to himself, and he still does it to this day. Also development of a mantra. What do you say to yourself? What's your Rocky theme? What's your get hype thing that you tell yourself when you're trying to support yourself? And when you're in those times where either you're feeling down or when you need to pump yourself up, to do an activity or engage in an activity, what are the things that you tell yourself? So I don't know if I have a mantra, but I think that my whole thing is like from here on out, I'm just trying to be as authentic and as intentional as I possibly can. Next slide. Now, today, this is one of my last slides right here. I'm happy and blessed, and when I do my best, I am my best. Listen, that's really true right there. Now, we focus a lot on internal stuff, right? What can we do to support ourselves? But there's also things that our institutions, our academic institutions, our work environments should be doing as well to support us and to also not support an environment where harassment, bullying, and unsafe environments tend to reign, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about that, because we shouldn't have to go to work and feel like we got to be armored up, like, oh, I got to go to work, roll my eyeballs because I know that so-and-so is going to be waiting in there, for me to have, to ruin my day. That's not how we should be approaching our work. And the people who are in charge or in leadership positions should really be thinking about how can you foster a more collaborative, non-hostile, not even non-hostile, but safe working environment where we can proliferate trust, discovery, and innovation. Because how can you be innovative and creative if you're worried about covering your tail, right? Next slide, please. And I promise that this is it. So there are some things that need to be done within our environment. And one is that sometimes change comes from the top down. So leadership must support these environments that are safe and protective and innovative for us. So we must have unwavering support and communication and demonstration of values that start from the top. Leadership can't be the problem. They can't cover for people who have been the problem. We need to kind of like think about what's the environment that we want to create, and then go after, or what's the environment that we want and that we want to exist in, and then move in that way in order to help to create that, not only for ourselves, but for those people who come behind us. Leadership has to listen and then act so that they can normalize positive and more inclusive environments and reward people for more than just their publications and their grants, because that's not the only thing that should be counting within academics. Should not be the only thing that counts within NIH either. So I know that we reinforce some of that whole ideal there too. We're working on that over here. Also, educate staff, provide resources and safe spaces. And I read that article about stop telling women that they have imposter syndrome, right? I completely agree with that. And also educating staff and providing resources and safe spaces. So what's the one thing that we always turn to? Educating, right? Because sometimes people don't even know the kind of environments that they're purporting or supporting either. Also empowering staff engagement so that we're not supporting an environment where we're just telling people to hush and keep their head down, right? So, we need to have environments where we're being supportive of each other and engaging with each other to try to create spaces where people can feel safe. Also, we need to reward people in our environment and where we have cultures that are enhancing change. Next slide. I think that is it. I said that I would be done, and I am.